Happy New Year. Welcome, everybody. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business of the Gettysburg Area School District. Board of Directors meetings and committee meetings are open to the public, but are not public meetings. All school district residents who wish to make public comment should sign in prior to the start of the meeting and request to speak during citizens' participation. School district residents wishing to speak to the board shall do so only during the citizen participation section of the meeting. Public comment is welcome, and all issues will be referred to the appropriate board committee or administrator. Comments will be summarized in the official board minutes, which will be available by contacting the business office. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. All right, for roll call, we have Kathleen is excused this evening, and Dave and Ryan are present on the phone. Prior to this meeting, we held an executive session to discuss a student issue. Please rise for the pledge. I believe we don't have any citizens' participation this evening, so that brings us to routine approvals. Looking to take these items together: 5.1, the agenda; 5.2, the regular board meeting minutes from December 2nd; 5.3, the meeting minutes from the reorganization meeting; 5.4, the meeting minutes from December 15th; 5.5, the student expulsion waiver agreement; and 5.6, the human resources recommendations. Do I have a motion for 5.1 to 5.6?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Tim?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Justine?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Ryan?
Oh, he's on mute.
Oh, Ryan, you can unmute yourself to vote. Thank you.
If you can hear me, yes.
Yeah, we can. Thank you. And I vote yes. All right, moving on to items for board action. I'm going to separate these two this evening. The first item on board action is 6.1, team room scope of project. I want to take a second just to mention for the board and also for the public that this was a specific request from one of our board members, and we're currently working through the process of getting things onto our agenda. So typically we have kind of a process where we're going through having something in a committee that then is brought as an information item, and then after an information item, it gets turned into an action item. So this particular agenda item did not go on to our board, perhaps in the traditional route it normally gets there, just giving some context to it, but it is a topic that, people are interested in discussing. So with that in mind, and kind of firming up our procedures that we have to put items onto this agenda, if there is somebody who would like to make a motion for this, I'm opening the floor for that.
I'll make a motion to remove the two alternative items, which is the viewing platform and the roof access path.
Okay, I heard a motion.
Second.
Okay, I hear a second. So now we're open for discussion on the team room scope of project, that the board eliminate the two alternates on the scope of the project. So discussion is open.
First of all, this needs to go to information item first before it goes to board action. So it can't go to straight to a board action item. The citizens need to be able to come in and comment before any of that is done.
Any other items for discussion on this topic?
Wasn't this, when this was approved, I don't remember the date, maybe I do know the date.
October 6th.
October 6th,
Thank
thank
you.
you. At that point, there was the information for the public to come and comment. And that was when there were three ways that they were planning to set it up. and I believe administration was opposed to what's being requested to be removed. So it did allow for public comment at that point, but Tim, are you saying because it's coming back again as an action that it has to go through information a second time?
Yeah, because you're changing the scope of the project, and citizen participation is needed.
I think historically, and for a little bit of context, this whole project, I think, went through 7 or 8 committee meetings, including 2 on-site visits. And when we voted on it back in October, it came to the board, I guess, for 2 or 3 different options. And as with anything else, the recommendation, just like with tax increases or whatever, the administration had made a recommendation on what their preferences were. But the board at the time voted unanimously, I think, minus 1 member, to move forward with the current one. So I would agree with Tim in the sense that if we want to revisit that and change the design and what was voted on, that the appropriate way would be go back to committee, discuss the pros and cons, and see how the full committee and full board feel, and if there's an appetite for changing that. That would be my preference and recommendation. It just seems kind of rushed. I would agree with Tim.
So I guess Tim or Dave, what was discussed at Finance and Facilities?
Well, I mean, I'll let Dave speak on it, but
Originally, because I think it's impractical alternatives for the team room and training center. The main focus is for team room and training center, not for spectator viewership. And the location, if you went out in that field and stood there where that building's going to be, you're going to be hard pressed once you're 2 rows back on that viewing platform to see anything. So to me, it is a waste of taxpayer money.
but in saying that, you're getting a lot of,
To go on to the agenda.
you have a lot of people that come to these games, if you've ever been to a football game, and stand on the mezzanine. And there's a fence there, and there are 3, 5, 6 rows deep, people standing in the mezzanine because there are no seats available. This gives those people a place to view the game from a place. And at the cost of this, you could not put seats in that stadium for that. And to put seats in the stadium, you'd have to destroy the visitor side, put a smaller section, and add new to the home side at cost of $1 million, $2 million, whatever it may be, for have anybody to have any more viewing spaces at that stadium.
And I did have a question, because I was part of the initial site visit. What was approved back in October isn't constructing the seats and the seating area on top of that. It's just including in the architectural design and the build, the ability to put structure on that roof. Am I correct, Josh? We're just making the plan if down the road, if you want to expand seating there like Northern Lebanon and other school districts have done, we're just preparing for that, correct?
No, the structural design is to accommodate occupancy of, 275 people-ish?
Yeah.
It was around 250 to 300 people, standing room only. The design does not reflect the ability to install bleachers up there. There was a thought at one time that we may put bleachers on top of there when it was located inside the track, but when it got moved back to the approved location outside the track in the hill, it's just standing room only.
Josh, did I hear you correctly, though? It could accommodate up to a couple hundred people?
Yeah, based upon the code analysis, right, that requires the designer to put an occupancy load from a life safety standpoint on the drawings, and he's going to double check the number, but I believe it was around 250 to 300 people. Be pretty tight to get that many people up there, but legally and safely, you can put that many people up there.
Yeah. I would just say a quick remark in that we did address this at several finance and facilities meetings. We did do an on-site visit. We did discuss pros and cons a lot. So I think minimally, if we are looking to make a major change to the alternates here, that we would send it back to committee
and then bring this back through our normal process through information and so on. But this went through a pretty long vetting process. And I would hate to think that, our previous board wasted, several of our meetings in this agenda item where we spoke ad nauseum about this back and forth. And Dave in the end may agree or disagree. And again, it's okay if we agree to disagree on this. But I think minimally, because it did go through a strong vetting process, went through information, went through a board formal vote, and now we're looking at real quickly just to take those two alternates away. I think it at least deserves some more discussion back in committee before returning back, my personal opinion.
And I believe if I'm not correct, Josh, the whole project was about 3 years in the making. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's close.
So
Yeah,
it wasn't a rational decision. It was
Yeah,
very well went through.
I want to, this is available to all the board members, but in kind of our most recent batch of people asking questions, I asked Josh to answer some of those questions about the timeline and the breakdown of where we were starting from the beginning of the Team Room project actions towards that most recent board vote that took place. So at least on this list, there's things that go all the way back to 2023. So take a look at that for more information on your own as well, if you didn't get a chance to review it yet. But at this point, there are lots of discussion items that have been brought up, most of them about process. I'm looking to see if there's any other discussion items on 6.1 before we move to vote on the motion on the table or anything else that is happening with that.
And you can always vote to amend the motion to, I sort of was just drafting an idea, like to table it until there's a committee recommendation.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Is that something that can happen? So it has been seconded as this current motion?
But, right, so there's a motion and a second, and then you can vote to either table the motion or amend the motion. Either way, as long as we have a first and a second on those motions. On the motion, it's fine to move forward, but.
I believe that you have to vote on the motion if it has a second.
When we're talking to the
Not necessarily, no. You can vote to table or you can vote to amend the motion. So it's up, or you could vote it down, or we could just go through and vote on it and vote it down, and then it gives it full freedom to sort of take the process in the committee or not, however it moves forward.
Okay.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion to take this back to committee and then bring it back as an information item, or to bring it back as information, whatever committee decides first.
So I'm hearing a motion to bring it back to committee.
A motion to amend, yeah.
Amend and bring it back to the committee.
So we would need a second on that, and then we need a vote on the amendment to that specific motion before we vote on the substance.
Cool.
Okay? So is there a second to?
Second.
Okay.
Do we have discussion on that amendment?
You can absolutely, and I hear that Dave might have some
He has a
comment too.
question. Yep.
But so we have a motion and a second to amend the motion, and so now we're going to talk about all the things about amending the motion.
Josh, if this does get approved to be tabled and back to committee, from a timeline perspective, does that hurt us in any way in the way of any other obligations or getting the project done, or do we miss any deadlines of any sort?
Yes. Short answer. So I'll give you a quick update. So our bids are expired at this point, simply stated. Now, excuse me, I have reached out to the successful low bidders and asked them to hold their price for an additional 90 days. I've heard back from one bidder that they'll hold their price for no additional cost. I'm waiting back from the other two bidders. So jury's still out on whether there's going to be a price increase, which obviously that'd be a whole another conversation, right? And timing-wise, like obviously we're not going to make our original completion date, which was targeted for basically June 1st, timeline. we did rebid this job so we could start construction in the fall or early winter, or at least the process, right? Because we didn't get favorable pricing because we had construction going over the summer months, which a lot of these contractors are really busy with much larger projects. I think that's why we didn't get the bid participation originally. So most likely we would be back into a rebid scenario, and we would have to evaluate probably the best time to rebid it. And I would say it'd probably be a repeat to rebid it towards the end of the summer, just realistically looking at it.
I have an additional question, Josh. What has prevented us? I think there were some permitting issues, like we had the original middle school project, that those permits weren't closed out. Is that what has prevented us from getting started so far? And my part two to that question is if the board does vote to remove the structural capability to have spectators on the roof and remove the path, are we going to incur additional engineering costs to have those engineering documents changed?
So the answer to your second question, we will not incur any additional design cost to back out the add alternate 1 and 2, because we've already received bid pricing for the alternate design, or just the base bid without those 2 alternates. Back to your first question, the holdup in getting the team room permitted, building permit issued, they won't allow us to even apply for the building permit until we close out the middle school. It's an NPDES permit. It's a stormwater management permit that has not been closed out due to some as-built drawings, as-built survey and associated drawing and operation maintenance manual for all the stormwater management facilities, the ponds, the piping, you name it. That was constructed in 2014. It's basically just a regulatory closeout process that was not completed post-construction. So Cumberland Township won't allow us to, again, apply for permit for the team room until we close out the NPDES permit as they see fit to meet all the requirements. They're not asking for anything that shouldn't have been done. It just didn't happen. So.
And are we close to getting that part done?
Yes, we are one letter away, and one letter, one filing away from getting that done, and then we can apply for the building permit, which then they have 30 days to review the plans to issue building permit or come back with comments. And then we would have to resubmit with any revisions. So that's why I asked for a 90-day extension of the low bid number.
So having this discussion of removing these items really hasn't had an effect on the bids because we're still waiting for permits. Am I understanding that correct?
No, we have bids,
Right.
right? We have bids to construct the alternates or construct it without the alternates.
Right.
The bids, unless they ask for an increase because the bids have expired, which is, again, we'll call it a regulatory requirement for a publicly bid project. Those numbers, if they change, I don't see that they would change a lot. We just haven't been able to move forward to even submit the drawings for the team room for permit because Cumberland Township said, we're not even going to entertain that until you close out this other permit associated with the middle school.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Yep.
And I do have another question on that. That's been how many years now? 11, 14?
11.
11 years.
Yeah,
and
14,
they never
I think.
called us to say, hey, by the way.
Well, I've been here for 4.5 years, and it's been active but slow, obviously, for the time frame that I've been here. There was some discussion regarding ownership of the stormwater structures, mainly within or improvements, which would be, manholes, piping, within the, street, Lefevre Street. Typically, the, public entity, we would build to their specifications, and then they own everything within the street, right? From what I understand, within the last 5 to 8 years, they only now take responsibility for the street and basically the frame of any inlets or manholes. We, or the developer, as they looked at us as, we made the improvements. We still own all of the improvements, subsurface, and there was some discussion or disagreement about why that was. And we pushed back on that, but the original operation and maintenance agreement for the structures and all the improvements, from what I understand, had us listed as maintaining ownership and basically responsibility in perpetuity, right, to make any corrections or maintain them, basically forever. So that's really what the holdup was. And then we did have some survey work that was not done to basically document the construction of those facilities to make sure that it met what was designed. That wasn't done either, but both of those items are taken care of at this point, and we need to get a letter signed, as long as they agree with the language, file it at the courthouse, and then we can close the permit out.
So I'm going to bring it back to what our board action is on the table right now. There was a motion to amend 6.1 and a second, which opens the floor to discuss the amendment.
Right, so the next vote would be on just whether to amend, and then the vote
we
after
have to
that would
vote
be
on that. Okay.
the substance of the amendment, but we have to decide, does the board agree to amend?
Interject.
Yep.
what-
Go ahead,
Yep.
Dave.
I'm still confused. There's a motion on the table, so how does another motion be allowed to come up and vote on that and not either kill the first motion that was seconded or move it forward?
There was a motion on the table, and now there is a motion to amend the motion. And so there's going to be
It has to be by the original person to amend it.
no, which is why we're going to vote. If it were by the original motioner and the original seconder, there would not need to be a vote on whether to amend the motion. But because we're amending the motion by two different people, there has to be a vote by the board on whether to just simply amend the motion, and then there's a subsequent vote on the substance of the motion.
Does that answer your question, Dave? This is just a nuance of Robert's rules that our solicitor is explaining.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of disagree that you need to vote on a motion. If it dies, and then you can make a second motion.
And that's absolutely another option. But we now have an amended motion, so we could vote down the amended motion and vote down the original motion, but it is possible to.
Yeah, there are two ways that you could do it. We have two board members who have motioned to amend and a second, so we're gonna vote on that. So this is voting on the
Voting to amend the motion.
voting to amend the motion. I lost my pen.
That's right. There's one of those two.
Thanks. Okay. Are we clear on what we're voting on?
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not.
So,
I'm sorry,
so
I'm-
this vote is, if you vote yes, then you are voting for the board to amend the item on the table. So we would be changing the language of,
Okay,
we would,
that's what I wanted to
no,
hear.
we would be
No.
we would be voting whether or not you agree that we would like to change what 6.1 is.
Then there's going to be a second vote on whether
How to change
6.1.
that.
So right now,
Right.
6.1 reads a certain way, okay? The motion on the table is amending how 6.1 reads as a motion. So if you vote yes, you're not voting on the substance of the motion, you're just saying, I agree to amend the motion.
Yes, we can change it, is what you're saying.
And what the motion is being changed from is action tonight. The motion is now suggesting that there be action that goes back to the committee a committee recommendation, putting on as an information item, and then action in the more traditional Gettysburg procedure. But the first motion, yes, the first yes would be whether or no would be on the motion itself, and then the second one would be whether to do what the motion is saying. It's
So a vote
Yep.
of yes eventually gets it back to taking it to the
Committee.
committee. Okay, I just need to,
Yep, so this vote, if you vote yes on this, you're saying, yes, we can change 6.1's language right now. If you vote no, then you say, I would like to keep 6.1's language as is on the paper. Okay, here goes.
Alice, can I just ask a quick question? Can you hear me?
You may.
If we're inclined to keep the viewing platform, then we could right now vote to not table it and then vote against the motion to amend 6.1. Is that accurate?
Good point.
Can you repeat that one more time, Ryan, so we can process it, please?
Sure. If we're inclined to keep the viewing platform right now, then we could vote not to amend, vote not to table. So vote no on this next round, and then vote no on the amendment to 6.1 tonight. Is
Yes.
that accurate?
okay, now. I'm
Yes.
confused again.
Yes, that's correct, Ryan, if you heard.
Great, thank you.
Sure. I'll take an attempt at clarifying because, of course, everyone's decision is their own. So the motion on the table right now is to change, is to allow for a change in wording of 6.1. The intention there, it seems, was so that we could then bring this back to the committee to keep talking about whether we would like to eliminate those alternates or change what is on the table here. So if that is a way that you would like to go, then you could agree to vote to amend this, and then we could talk about bringing it back to the committee. If, like Ryan's stating, long-term, you see yourself thinking that you would rather keep the platform and the roof access path, not eliminate anything, then there's no need to amend it. You could just vote no to the 6.1 as written and no to an amendment, because that would say we want to keep it the way it is.
But there's already a motion.
You would have to vote no for both things. Yeah, correct. Yeah. It kind of depends on what passes. Does that answer those questions? And clarify?
Yeah, I mean,
why?
arguably, I mean, it comes down to this. If the people sitting here today, whether they're on the phone or here in person, if they want to bring it back to committee, to vote and bring it back to the committee where the committee makes a recommendation and there's new action on it, then you would vote to amend, and then you would vote yes to that amendment. If you see the vote here on the paper, on the agenda, and you say, I don't want to revisit it, it shouldn't go back to the committee. I want to vote on it now. I want to remove the scope, or I don't want to remove the scope, then we don't need an amendment, and we can make the decision here as to whether the folks here in phone or in person want to just, whether they're going to weigh in or change the vote from October 6th. So right now, what's on the agenda is changing the vote from October 6th. If everyone here wants to just vote on whether they believe the vote from October 6th should remain or remove, then we don't need to amend the motion. But because it's come to the agenda sort of in the outer normal process, it was, well, let's bring it back to the agenda process. So I think those are, I'm trying to explain it in another way, hopefully.
Yep, again, two different ways of approaching it. But right now, we do have an amendment on the table. Yes, Dave?
Why don't I make it easy? I just amend my motion from the start. And then take it back to, just state that I'll amend my personal motion.
To what?
Just take it back to committee.
Well, I think if that's the emotion already on the table, right? That's the emotion. I keep saying emotion.
I'll terminate the original motion and I'll just make the motion to take it back to committee for the next meeting.
It's helpful to know the intention, because I think that's clearer. But we do have the amendment on the table, so if that's something you'd like to do.
If he withdraws his emotion, then my motion's automatically withdrawn.
Your motion. Yeah. Who made you made the second, right? So if Mr. Seitz makes his amendment to remove and table, and you agree because you were the original seconder to the original motion, then we can all move forward. And it will go back, because the motion will be removed, and then we're going to vote to do that as a board. Is that what you're suggesting, right, Dave?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to committee at least.
Yes. So as long as you agree with it going back to committee, because you seconded the original motion that Dave made. If you agree, then there's a vote and it goes back to the committee as normal, and we're all, and it's normal.
It's fine with me.
So Justine, at this point, Dave's proposing that he's asking to amend his motion to send it back to committee. And that would require you to agree with that since you seconded the original motion.
I guess, sure, but I don't know, like, it went to committee, it went through the process in October, now it came back, for whatever reason it came back, that I don't know, I'm unclear of as well. Because the subcommittees, we see the minutes, again, and that's, I have asked questions about more clarification there as well. But if that is what is agreed upon and that's what Dave wants to do and I seconded it, sure, we can take it back to committee.
Okay, thank you. Do
Peer
we have
pressure.
to vote on? Well, I mean, I understand the confusion. I think ultimately, again, I stated this up front a while back at this point, but, we're still working through the way that process goes, and this one was faster and less of the steps that help clarify that. So in the future, the goal is to follow that every step of the way, and hopefully people's questions will be answered along the way. So we have a motion to amend and a second, and now we're voting on sending it back to the
Whether to send
committee.
it back to the committee, yeah, because that's
Okay.
what Dave has amended it to, and you've agreed as a second, so whether to go back to the committee for discussion.
Okay, is everyone clear on what we're voting on?
I think.
Great. Al?
A yes vote is to send it back to committee for, okay. Yes.
Justine?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can I just add one clarifying question? When we say send it back to committee, this is the motion that the board eliminate two of the alternatives, the viewing platform and the roof access paths in the scope of the project. We're sending that back to the committee.
In lieu of action, it is that particular 6.1 is going to the committee in lieu of action.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Dave?
Who?
Dave, you?
Yes.
Thank you. Mike?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, thank you all for sticking with us on the Robert's Rules process. Moving,
Alice, I gotta go.
thanks, Dave. Moving on to,
I said yes.
yep, yeah. Moving on to item 6.2 for board action. This is the high school gym athletics sound system replacement. The board would be approving the request to replace that sound system, and we've had this on as an information item. Can I get a motion for 6.2, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All right, voting. Justine? Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Any questions? My apologies. Any questions before we vote? Thanks. Okay, Justine.
Yes.
Dave? Oh, just kidding. Mike?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right, information items. 7.1. Our administration building renovations. Back on for an information item. Anything to present or ask about?
I was just going to say this is verbatim what was on previously.
Yep.
So I can run through it again if you'd like, or we just discuss it openly. You may just go through it quickly. Or is everybody on the
I
same
think you
page?
should just give everybody a refresher.
A little
Okay,
review.
so we have three different options as we laid out. for the admin HVAC project. Option one was to move the IT room to the attic space and obviously do a full HVAC renovation throughout the building. Again, that was the original scope, and the board had approved us to design up to $4.6 million total project cost for that scope. We designed high-level design and got an estimate back for that scope, and it came in at $6.8 million, significantly higher, obviously. So at that point, we took a step back, looked at different options, none of which got us back down to the $4.6 million. But just looking forward, really 5, 10, 15, 20 years even, as far as what we may need as an administration, space in the administration building. We came up with option 2, which is to relocate or not utilize the third level attic space for the IT room, actually expand the footprint beyond this exterior wall over here and create another boardroom, which would be of similar size here as we're currently using, renovate this space into a consolidated IT space with the main server room, which that gets that up out of the basement, which is one of the main objectives, so we don't have any concerns with water, moisture, things of that nature. We would have some conference room and office space in here as well. And then obviously we would complete the HVAC scope, which is the main component of the project throughout the building. Option 3 would be to design and bid and add alternate to add a second level to the first floor boardroom addition that I just mentioned. And that would take the total project cost to an estimated $7.5 million. So again, option 1 was 6.8. Option 2 was 6.5, 6.475, so call it 6.5. And then option 3 was 7.5. Administrative recommendation is to do option 2, and then also bid option 3, which would be just the addition of the second floor to the first floor boardroom addition. That's it.
Thank you for the review. Any questions from the board?
Was there a cost breakdown of what just the HVAC and electrical costs was?
Yes, there is. I don't have those numbers handy, but yeah, there was basically a spreadsheet that was put together by the designer. But the overall numbers that I just spoke to, that was all of our construction contingency, design contingency, money to move, furniture, commissioning, permitting, inspection. I mean, on down the line. That's one figure for the entire project. But yes, there was an itemized list provided by the designer. But again, I don't have those numbers at my fingertips, so to speak.
So the reason I ask that question is because, again, at Finance and Facilities, I know it was questioned what the repurposing of the ACTI building will be when that project is complete. When that will be, I don't know. But I don't know if there's an answer for that at this point. I know Dave had questioned it, and Al had said there's nothing no idea of repurposing is what I saw. And to add 2,600 square feet here and to have the space at ACTI that's going to be vacated, I'm not sure if that's in discussion anywhere. I get it, like HVAC and electrical upgrades, absolutely. But I just am curious.
Justine, I like the way you're thinking right now. Unfortunately, the county is not in a position to move forward right now with the ACTI. I mean, there's not even a land purchase at this point, and they're still in discussion phases. Unfortunately, we continue to turn kids away that want to be career and technical skilled kids in a much needed thing for central Pennsylvania and for the Gettysburg area. So unfortunately, we are years away from a career and tech center here in Adams County, and it's shameful that we have to deal with that here in Adams County. That this should have been addressed years ago, and so on. So I would say repurposing that building has really not even been a thought on too many minds, and I don't think it's been part of the JOC discussion. There were rumors out there that I had heard and so on that Gettysburg administration and board did not want the Career and Tech Center here, or that they had all these grandiose plans. I point blank asked our former superintendent, our current superintendent, and board officers at that time, and that was simply a false statement. That was untrue. So unfortunately, we are years away from a Career and Tech Center. I'm hoping the JOC, and with their reorganization and the superintendent of record from New Oxford, I'm really hoping that that they, with the support of all the boards in Adams County, will really push forward. And and I'm hopeful that if a land purchase can be made, maybe some of these grants that the politicians have said that they will support, and maybe some of these other industry and businesses and so on will really move forward and be motivated to want to support this project financially. But until a land purchase is made, I think it's kind of dead in the water right now, and it hurts me to say that.
Bringing back to the administration building renovations, any other questions on that item? Okay, hearing none. Josh, I'm sharing with the board, Josh has agreed. Dave had reached out about asking if he could kind of walk through that space and see what that would look like. And Josh has graciously agreed to do that before the meeting on the 20th at 6 p.m. for anyone who is able to come a little bit earlier and interested in doing that. I will send an email as well as a reminder for the upcoming meeting. A reminder that means this item then is up for a vote on the agenda on the 20th. Great. Thank you so much for all of your information for both items this evening. All right, moving on to board committee reports.
7.2.
Oh, I'm sorry. 7.2. Thank you. Lincoln Elementary School bridge repairs. Can someone give a small overview on what that is?
So, through the HVAC project we had at Lincoln over 24 and 25, at the beginning it was determined that the bridge needed some attention. The top of it was eroding a little bit. So plans were made to epoxy coat it, or to refinish it, epoxy coat it, and then add new handrails. Throughout the course of the project, it was determined that underneath the bridge, in the last 10 or 12 feet before the stairs up towards the police station, the underside was spalling and rebar was visible. So this is something that now needs to be addressed. There was originally a $50,000 allowance to address the surface aesthetics of the bridge, and in doing so, researching with an engineer and our project team, it was determined that to fix the bridge properly requires removal of the last 10 feet of the building, of the bridge, right at the bottom of the stairs, as I discussed, and replacing that entirely, adding new rebar, shoring everything up, and then doing the epoxy coating and the new handrails. That equated to $40,052 and additional funds required to make the necessary corrections. There's now a change order in place, waiting for a vote.
Thank you.
So, Kevin, you're talking it's going to be $90,000 and $52 instead of $50,000.
Correct, and then the
Right.
$50,000 allowance just comes off the top.
Yeah, and I would assume, it's hard to see in that picture, but there is a middle pier there, so they're going to take it from that middle pier out?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. Board committee reports. Tim?
I'll go first since we're on that subject. So Building and Finance met, and we discussed said bridge that we just talked about. We also talked about the administration building remodel, and Dave Seitz had mentioned about wanting to revisit part of the team room process. So that's where was that. The other thing is at the ACTI meeting, we discussed, of course, they are the acting head of that is retiring, and they're actually in the middle of interviewing people for that position. And then most of it was just paying bills and everything else. And then we did have an executive session after that discussing land. That was about it.
Great, thank you. The policy committee. No report from our policy committee at present moment. As of this month, our committee meetings are still occurring on policy committee the second Tuesday of the month, and finance and facilities the third Thursday, I want to say. All right. We are
Yeah,
still.
and that's a little early. Kevin and I were just, that's the 15th, because the first was Thursday. So
Oh,
typically.
Thank you. Thanks for that
it's a
heads
little
up. So
earlier, So it'll be next week.
third week is coming about as early as it can
It's
be,
actually
the 15th.
It'll actually be both. Next Tuesday is the second Tuesday, so that'll be policy, and then next Thursday is actually the third Thursday, so it'll be
Excellent.
facilities. So we have both in the same week.
Many committees happening.
13th?
Correct.
And has the time changed?
Not yet.
Not
They're
yet.
both 4 o'clock.
So, yeah, so
4 o'clock.
my hope here is that we can, as a board, kind of do what's called a version of a doodle poll, right? Get our timings lined up and see if we can reorganize that for February. That's the goal. So we'll be in touch about that, because I know there's many people that want to be at these meetings, myself included. So, excellent. Program reports. Dr. Metzner.
Yeah, I just have a couple of date calendar items. Next Friday, the 16th, we do have early dismissal for our students. Excuse me, for PD Day, and then obviously on the following Monday, the 19th, is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so we will be off that day, which is why our next board meeting is on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. Other than that, we are glad to be back in session, bringing everybody back from the winter break. I hope everybody had a safe and wonderful holiday and New Year's, and we're looking forward to the second half of our school year.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you again to everybody here and listening for working through the learning of procedures and Robert's rules alongside this board. We'll keep at it. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, January 20th. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.